welcome you all to the weekend wisdom session. Today, we have a great master, Andrew Cohen, with us this evening. Welcome, Andrew. I'm so glad to have you in today's session.
Thank you. I'm happy to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, friends, let me introduce Andrew Cohen to you. I think most of you would have known him, but let me share a few words about him. Andrew was born in New York City. He recounts that life was changed by a spontaneous experience of cosmic consciousness at the age of 16. At 22 years of age, and after pursuing a career as a jazz musician, he began to quest his earlier spiritual experiences. He eventually met Punja in the year 1986, a self-styled teacher who taught that no effort is needed to attain enlightenment because it is merely the realization of what one already has. In 1991, Cohen founded Enlighten Next, a magazine. So he is running through the magazine, giving all his spiritual messages. Cohen's teachings were further developed into evolutionary enlightenment, aiming at an impersonal enlightenment which transcends the personal. Cohen says that he has discovered a different form of enlightened awareness which he claims to be unique. He first called this impersonal enlightenment to reflect the fact that it was a realization shared between people rather than an individual attainment. He later changed the name to evolutionary enlightenment, both to reflect his belief that indicates the next stage of the evolution of enlightenment and to convey the creative, world-embracing vision of spiritual awakening as an unending process of individual and cultural development. So my dear friends, Andrew Cohen is a great author of the book, The Evolutionary Enlightenment. It is one of the best sellers and you can find it even in Amazon. And I am sure that after hearing the session today, you will be rushing back to go about the book. Let me say you, Andrew has come to Pyramid Valley 2 years ago and he was very much fascinated to see the huge pyramid at Pyramid Valley International. He was being one of the speakers in the international conference at the Global Festival of Spiritual Sciences, and he has also been with Patriji. I can say Patriji and Andrew are good friends. They do have a wonderful conversation, and when I personally witnessed it, it was two great spiritual ambassadors having a conversation. I really feel honored to be there among them. So Andrew has also visited Kartal Pyramid. So this is the second largest built pyramid in the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement. He was also speaker, one of the biggest conferences in Hyderabad with Pyramid movement. So he's been a great friend and a well-wisher for the complete movement along with Patriji. I'm so honored to have Andrew Cohen today in this weekend wisdom session. Thank you, Andrew, for accepting our invitation and being with us today.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Yes, we are very eager to hear your words today.
So what I think I'd like to talk about is the five fundamental principles of how we can live an enlightened life. So the first one is very important. And the question is, what is more important to me than anything else? This is the most important question that the true sadhak has to ask themselves. What is more important to me than anything else? So is my relationship with my husband more important to me than anything else? My relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children, my relationship with money, My relationship with power, my relationship with sex, or is my relationship with the Absolute more important to me than anything else? So what comes first? We can't live the spiritual life in earnest. We can't strive to attain moksha or enlightenment in earnest unless wanting to attain moksha and wanting to attain inner freedom is more important to us than anything else. So these 5 principles that I want to speak about, the first one is the necessity to cultivate the desire for moksha, for spiritual liberation, for inner freedom, for oneness with the Absolute, for samadhi. That has to become more important to us than anything else. So this principle in the teaching of evolutionary enlightenment is called clarity of intention. And clarity of intention asks us to ask ourselves, what is more important to me than anything else? When I'm alone in a room by myself, when I'm sitting in a cave by myself, when there's no one around to impress, when it's just between me and myself, what's more important to me than anything else? The reason that the greatest realizers attain moksha, or attain enlightenment, or attain samadhi is because that was their desire more than anything else. Their desire was to become enlightened. Their desire was to become one with the Absolute. And that desire became one-pointed. It became like a missile, like a one-pointed missile. So the most important question that we need to begin with, that we need to struggle with, the question has to become the foundation of our life, the foundation of our spiritual life, has to do with what is more important to me than anything else. So if I ask a group of people, who of this group of people would like to be free? Everybody raises their hands and says, yes, of course I want to be free. And the second question I ask is, do you want to be free more than anything else? And when I ask the second question, do you want to be free more than anything else? Some people hesitate. They say, yes, I want to be free. I want to be liberated, but I'm not sure I want to be free and liberated more than anything else. And so it's my belief, it's my conviction that unless we get to that point in our sadhana, in our spiritual development, where we independently want to be free more than anything else, and are willing to act on that, we're probably not going to succeed. We're probably not going to succeed in attaining moksha. So in my way of thinking, in my understanding, the primary foundation for the realization of moksha is coming to that point in our own evolution as an individual jiva there, where moksha, liberation, samadhi, enlightenment, oneness with Brahman has become our primary motivation in life. For example, the Buddha left his kingdom, left his wife behind in the pursuit of moksha, the pursuit of liberation. And many people forget that these days, that many of the greatest realizers, many of the historically recognized greatest realizers are individuals who gave up everything for moksha. And this principle of making our desire for oneness with Brahman to achieve an absolute first priority in our life is very essential. Because many people are meditating because they're suffering from stress and fear and insecurity. And they want to find a way, understandably, to feel a little better, to feel a little more calm and less anxious. But seeking for moksha and seeking for liberation is very different than seeking for relief from tension, relief from anxiety, and relief from fear. The desire for moksha means I want to be free. I want to be liberated. I want to achieve oneness with Brahman. That is an exalted state of consciousness, and it is the attainment of which is very rare. I think that that the awakening to enlightened awareness and the experience of enlightened awareness is available to all of us, but very few of us have come to that point in our own evolution where the desire for moksha comes first and foremost in our lives. So the foundation of the spiritual life, I firmly believe, is the cultivation of the desire to want to be free, to want to be liberated, to want to be realized, to want to achieve moksha more than anything else in this world. I want to be free more than anything else, and I live my life as if that is true. If someone wants to be free more than anything else in the choices that they make, in the actions that they take, and their relationship to their husband, to their wife, to their children, to their parents, to their work, to their bodies, their relationship to the world, and their relationship to the universe, will express that one-pointed desire to be free more than anything else. So the foundation of the spiritual life is the cultivation of the one-pointed desire to want to be free more than anything else. And all deeply realized men and women were individuals who came to that point in their own evolution, in their own process of seeking. They put their desire for moksha and the desire for liberation first and foremost. So I want to encourage everybody that's listening to think about this question. Do I want to be free? And if the answer that comes is yes, I certainly want to be free, then we have to address the second part of the question is, do I want to be free more than anything else? If you want to be free more than anything else, no one will be able to stop you. There's no one in this world who will be able to interfere with your with the fulfillment of your spiritual desires. If you get to that point in your own seeking process where you have no doubt that you want to be free more than anything else in this world. This is the foundation really of the life of freedom, the life of liberation. The wanting it more than anything else. Do you want to be free? If the answer is yes, the second question is, do I want to be free more than anything else? And if you know and deeply in your heart and you have no doubt that you want to be free more than anything else, then no one and no thing in this entire cosmos will be able to stop you, and you should for sure will achieve your goal. We need to consider if we want to be free, if we want to realize moksha, if we want to attain oneness with Brahman, it has to do with the issue of karma. So someone who wants to be free more than anything else has to be willing and ready, has to have reached that point in their own evolution where they're ready and they're willing to accept unconditional responsibility for all of their karmas, for all of our prarabdha karma. We've come to that very unique and profound point in our spiritual developmental process, where we are unconditionally willing to take full responsibility for all of our karmas. Past, prarabdha karma; present, all the karmas in this life. And we're even willing to take unconditional responsibility for all of our future karmas that have yet to happen, that have yet to occur. Because there is a direct relationship between the experience of inner freedom in the present moment and our willingness to accept unconditional responsibility for ourselves and for all of our karmas in the present moment. So if we want to be free, if we want to be liberated, if we want to be enlightened, that desire has to be supported by an unconditional willingness to accept unconditional responsibility for ourselves, and most importantly, for all of our karmas. all of our past karmas, our prarabdha karmas, all the karmas that we brought with us from past lives into this life. We have to take unconditional responsibility for all the karma that we've created in this life. And we even have to be willing to take unconditional responsibility for all the karma that's yet to be created in the future. And we have to be willing to take responsibility for all of that here and now in the present moment. So if I've come to that point in my development as a sadhak, where I'm ready to take responsibility for my past karmas, for my prarabdha karma, all the karmas from my past lives, all the karmas from this life that I've created. And I'm even willing to take responsibility for all my future karmas that haven't even happened yet. This makes it possible for me, for my soul, to become an independent entity in the cosmos. People who are not yet willing to take unconditional responsibility for their own karmas, past, present, and future, are leaning on everyone else. And they have not yet come to that point where they're able to stand independently in the universe. So if we have any intention of trying to attain moksha for real, we have to be willing to stand alone, boldly, with great independence and sovereignty. We have to be willing to stand alone as a sovereign soul with profound independence in the world and in the universe. And the only way to be able to embrace that kind of independence is through coming to that point in our own spiritual development where we are ready and willing to take unconditional responsibilities for all of our past karmas, our prarabdha karmas, all of the karmas from this birth that we created in this life. And we're even willing to take responsibility for all the karma that's yet to be created in the future. And if we're willing to accept unconditional responsibility for karma, for our own karmas, past, present, and future, we will be standing independently in the world. We'll be standing independently in the universe. And that independence will make it possible for us to achieve moksha, or liberation, in a way that's just not possible any other way. Because when we awaken to enlightened awareness, we have to embrace an aloneness, an absolute aloneness that most people aren't prepared to do. It's too overwhelming. It's too mind-boggling. Because of course the ultimate truth is that there's only one in the universe, there's not two. And it's one thing to speak about this realization, but it's another thing to realize it at the level of our own souls and to embrace that truth at a level of the cosmos. So in order to become spiritually enlightened in a way that is truly profound, we have to be willing to accept responsibility for all karma past, present, and future. And that willingness to accept responsibility for all karmas past, present, and future in the present moments enables us to realize a degree of absolute independence and aloneness and sovereignty that makes it possible for us to let go of everything and to be completely free in that. And we have to be willing to be, I think I can honestly say we have to be willing to be nothing less than a spiritual superhero. Because it takes enormous courage to take responsibility for karma. It takes enormous courage and an absolute boldness at the level of the soul. We have to be that courageous, we have to be that bold, and we have to be that independent if we really want to be free. The third principle that I want to share with all of you this afternoon is the hardest one out of 5. This third principle says, if we want to be free, if we want to become enlightened, if we want to attain moksha, if we want to attain oneness with Brahman, we have to be willing to face everything and avoid nothing in every single moment. And that to face everything and avoid nothing is nothing more than the practice of awareness. the practice of awareness. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, am I paying attention to what's happening in every single moment? Am I awake? Am I aware? And am I paying attention? So to face everything and avoid nothing means that there's nothing that arises in our own mind in relationship to the world around us that we don't see and that we're not aware of. To face everything and avoid nothing requires enormous courage, because most people, to be brutally honest, face nothing and avoid everything. The tendency of the unenlightened mind and the tendency of the unenlightened soul is to face nothing and avoid everything. But in the life of the liberated jiva, the liberated soul, the liberated sovereign soul, as such, is an individual who boldly tries to face absolutely everything and avoid nothing. And we can just imagine, if we think about it for a moment, that if we are able to face everything and avoid nothing, in every single moment, there's nothing that we won't see. We're going to be aware of everything that arises, everything that occurs, which means our actions will take place in the context of a profoundly awakened and liberated awareness. We're going to know who we are, we're going to know where we are, and we're going to know what we're doing, and we're going to know why we're doing it in every moment. Most people aren't so aware. Most people don't know who they are. They don't know where they are. They often don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. So to be free and to be enlightened means we have to practice being aware. We have to practice paying attention. And someone who's truly practicing paying attention, someone who's truly making the effort to pay attention to everything that's happening, is someone who's making the effort to face everything and avoid nothing. Because I want to be free, because I want to be liberated, because I want to realize oneness with Brahman, I vow, and I'm willing to make the effort in every moment to face everything and to avoid nothing. And I want to face everything and avoid nothing so I can be free. If I'm truly facing everything and avoiding nothing, I won't be creating karma anymore. We only create karma when we don't face what we're doing and when we're avoiding this, that, and the other thing. When we stop avoiding facing reality, when we come to that point where we're able to face ourselves in a very big and profound way, we begin to face everything and avoid nothing, and this makes it possible for us to be free. The fourth principle that I want to speak about has to do with the capacity to be able to, the capacity to be able to see and observe the human experience as a very impersonal process rather than a personal event. So for many of us, see the experience of being the human being that we are. Many of us see the experience of being the individual human being that we are as a personal event, as a personal experience. Andrew is having a personal experience in this moment. Shalini is having a personal experience in this moment. Each and every one of us as a unique individual is having a personal experience in this moment. But what if we begin to see that we're not having a personal experience? That we realize that I'm not a unique individual, that I am, that I truly am. Who I really am is the energy and intelligence that created the universe. The energy and intelligence that's creating the universe right now, awakening to itself and bearing witness to itself through the body, through the mind, through the personality of Andrew Cohen. So when I realize that who I am is not my body, my mind, and my personality, but I'm that creative energy and intelligence that gave rise to the universe and that's giving rise to the universe. I begin to see the human experience, my own human experience, from the perspective of a very impersonal process. The fact that I happen to be in the body of Andrew Cohen is rather arbitrary. I could be Andrew, I could be Shalini, I could be Patriji, I could be so many people. But Shalini and Patriji and Andrew are all having the same human experience. So when Patriji and Andrew and Shalini begin to all realize that they're having the same experience, ultimately, the question is, who is the unique individual? Who is Shalini? Who is Andrew? Who is Patriji? If Patriji and Shalini and Andrew all realize they're having the same human experience, and that there ultimately really isn't any difference, there only appears to be a difference, we begin to see the human experience as being an impersonal process, not a personal experience. So once again, we begin to see that the human experience is not a personal event, it's an impersonal process. And when we begin to see our own very unique human experience from the perspective of an impersonal process, we begin to see ourselves as part and parcel of the whole universe. I am the energy and intelligence that created the universe, that's creating the universe, awakening to itself and becoming aware of itself through the body and the mind and the personality of Andrew Cohen. So Andrew's body, mind, and personality are vehicles through which this cosmic energy and intelligence can realize itself, and can manifest itself, and can express itself. So who I really am is the entire process of evolution. Who I am and who you all are, who Shalini is, who Patriji is, and who we all really are, is the entire creative process, awakening to itself and becoming aware of itself through the unique minds, bodies, and personalities of Andrew, Patriji, or Shalini. So is Shalini is Shalini the personal experience that she appears to be having? Or is Shalini really the entire universe, awakening to itself and becoming aware of itself through the body, mind, and personality of Shalini? So in this fourth principle that I'm sharing with all of you, when we realize moksha, when we awaken to enlightened awareness, we have this realization, we have this understanding that I'm not having a personal experience, that I am the whole universe, awakening to itself and becoming aware of itself through the unique body, mind, and personality of Andrew or Shalini or Patriji. So we flip positions, because usually we see from the perspective of the unenlightened ego, we see the universe out there, we see the universe all around us, and we feel that we're at the very center of this body, mind, and personality. But when we have the flip, there's the flip into enlightened awareness, we realize and directly experience that we are the whole universe, awakening to itself and becoming aware of itself through the unique mind and body and personality of each and every one of us. And this is the big flip of perspective. So it goes from I was a unique individual, and I realize I am the whole universe. I am the whole universe, and there's only one universe. I am the whole universe, bearing witness to itself through the body, mind, and personality of this unique individual. But it's a very big flip. It's a flip from having a personal experience to seeing reality from the perspective of an impersonal process. And it is unbelievably liberating when you realize that you really are the whole universe. You're not merely the unique individual body, mind, and personality that you believe yourself to be, but you're the whole universe peering out into itself through the body, mind, personality of yourself. And finally, there's one more principle. This is the fifth one. And the fifth principle is called for the sake of the whole, or cosmic conscience. And this is when I realized that the purpose of moksha, the purpose of awakening, the purpose of enlightenment, the purpose of liberation, is not so that I can become more conscious, is not so I can experience spiritual love, is not so that I can experience less fear and more joy. It's so that I can awaken to a sense of care for the evolution of the universe. An unenlightened person is very concerned about themselves. First and foremost, is concerned about their self and their own welfare. Maybe the welfare of their loved ones. But an enlightened person is very concerned about the evolution of consciousness itself, is very concerned about the evolution of the whole universe. So when we awaken in a way that is truly profound, truly significant, we become conscious of consciousness. We awaken to consciousness, we become aware of consciousness. And in that awakening to consciousness, we discover an overwhelming feeling of care and compassion and inspired concern for the evolution of the interior of the whole cosmos. I care about the evolution of the whole universe. I am the whole universe, and I care about the evolution of my own self. I appear to be the unique individual of Andrew Cohen with his unique body, mind, and personality, but that's not who I really am. I am the whole universe awakening to itself through his body, his mind, and his personality. And what I care about is the evolution of the interior of the cosmos. I care about the evolution of the welfare of the whole universe. I care about the evolution of the welfare of all sentient beings. So in this flip into awakened mind, to awakened awareness, into the consciousness of consciousness, there's a flip of, there's this huge flip where we realize that consciousness is always seeking for itself. Consciousness is always seeking for itself. And we realize that our initial yearning for liberation and our initial yearning for enlightenment and yearning for moksha, we thought it was for us and we thought it was about us, but when it happens, we realize it was never about us and it was never for us. It's for the thing itself. It's for the universe. The universe wants us to awaken so we can care for it. The universe is our mother and our father. And the universe wants human beings to awaken to the consciousness of consciousness so that we can care for the evolution of the whole process. We can become stewards. We can become faithful and trustworthy stewards of the evolution of the cosmos. And that's the reason why we all need to wake up. So we can care for this process, not just care for ourselves and not just care for our loved ones, but we can care for the whole process. A truly enlightened being cares passionately about the whole process. They care about the whole universe. Because they realize that the universe, this evolving universe, needs conscious beings within it to care for it, to guide it. We need higher consciousness and we need illuminated consciousness and illuminated jivas to guide this process into the future, and that's what we're all desperately so needed for. So those are the 5 principles I wanted to share with you.
Yes. So I can say this as a 5-star formula. So it was very much wonderful to hear from you, Andrew, today about the 5-star formula. 5-star formula for spiritual science, you can say.
Thank you.